Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're giving you our Week 17 fantasy football starters, streamers, and fades. We're here to help you make all the right decisions on who you should have in your lineup, who could help you in a pinch, and who you need to be a little bit concerned about this week. Let's start this fantasy football podcast right now.
Hit that drop. Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Football Upside. I am Justin. That is Kyle. Thanks for dropping by our Fantasy Football podcast and YouTube channel. We appreciate it. We're still here, Kyle. We're giving you that upside information. We're here for Week 17, and we're here to help you win that
championship.
And today we're hitting you with our starts of the week, streamers of the week, and fades of the week. Definitely check out our waiver wire pickups for Week 17, as well as our first annual Upside Awards.
Yeah.
I call it the Upside Awards. It's not all about upside. It's all about the different awards of fantasy football. Definitely check those out by click where Kyle's going to point and also in the description below. What you got before we get right into it, Kyle?
Yeah. Hey guys, go ahead and click that like button, drop a comment down below. Let us know what you think. This is going to wrap up the season for us. And then we're going to take a little bit of a hiatus, get back on the horse, back and better than ever. We'll make a few changes here and there, but for the
new
most
studio
part,
over here.
Yeah, going to be a new studio. So that's where we're at. If you want to drop some start sit questions down below, feel free to do that as well. We'll still help you out along the way this week, get you that championship week, hopefully. And if you're in a week 17 championship, don't play in leagues that have championships in the last week of the season. Now it looks like they're going to have a 17th game next year in the NFL. So that'll probably extend everybody into another week. I don't know how that's going to play out because there's going to be an extra bye week possibly, I think.
Yeah, I don't think they've determined anything yet.
Yeah, I don't think they've set it up. So we'll see how it plays out. But you know what? If you have any questions, feel free to hit us up. We're always asking. You can catch us over on Twitter. We are at FFB_upside, as well as the other handles that we've got on the screen. You can also hit us up down below. Let's dive in headfirst into the shallow end, and let's start up with our starts of the week, Justin. I'll take running back, right? Right off the top, we've got running back. Yeah. Running back. Guess who? It's going to be Derrick Henry. Why? Well, because he's Derrick Henry. Double why? Because he's going against Houston. That's right. Houston allows most fantasy football fantasy points to the running back position this year. And in the first matchup, he absolutely obliterated them in the NFC or AFC South inter conference or interdivision play. He went for 212 yards, 2 touchdowns against Houston in their first matchup.
Is that good?
It's okay. Yeah, okay. You know. Might have hit a scoring escalator for people. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, he's probably taking some souls, some stiff arming some souls away from people.
Oh yeah, killing some DBs. He surprise, he finished as running back 1 that week. The running back 1 that week. And I don't think that he's really going to get sat this week unless it's an absolute blowout, which is possible. But I think also that if he could put up over 200 yards again, it starts creeping near the 2K mark.
Yeah.
And so they might let him keep going out there. I mean, it's an interim coach, right? So why not let him hit his mark? I think that, that's where I'm going with it.
Cool.
So I think he's going to be the top guy. What you got for me on wide receiver?
On wide receiver, I have Calvin Ridley going against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs actually are giving up the 11th most fantasy points to wide receiver this year. And their top corner, Carlton Davis, has been injured with a groin injury the last few weeks. So I don't think he's going to be a go again. And then, they just played. The Falcons and the Buccaneers just played in Week 15. And listen to this, Kyle. He had Ridley had 14 targets, 10 catches, 163 yards, and a touchdown, and that landed him as number 1 wide receiver that week. Yeah. And Ridley's been the 3rd best wide receiver since Week 13, and that was the last game that Julio Jones played. Mm-hmm. So, and here's one thing: I just want to toot my own horn, just a little toot. And this is what I said back on our breakout episode from August 14th. If you are looking for this year's Chris Godwin, you have found him in Calvin Ridley. So Godwin was the 16th wide receiver off the board in 2019 and finished as a number 2. He was at final ADP was 15th wide receiver off the board. He's going to finish probably no worse than 3rd this year, Kyle.
There you go.
We finally hit one, right? We hit one.
Yeah, you got
what do you
one.
got as your tight end start of the week?
Tight end start of the week. I promise it's not because I'm a fan. It's Bobby T, Robert Tonyan. He's going against Chicago. And actually, I want to say that when he played against Chicago previously, or at least maybe another tight end against Chicago, we recommended as well. Chicago allows the 5th most fantasy points to the tight end position. And in a defense that is pretty stout against the run and pretty stout on the back end against the pass in general, allowing that many points to any one position is a clear weakness, and it is something that offenses are going to target and exploit as much as possible. And so Tonyan, he's gonna go after it. We've advocated for people to start tight ends against Chicago in the second half of the season regularly. And look, when they played last, Bobby T, Big Bob, went 5 for 5 for 67 yards and a touchdown. That was in week 12. He was tight end 2 overall.
That's enough for tight end 2, everybody. That is tight end.
That was tight end 2 that day. That was tight end 2 in that day. Yeah,
I know.
And look, he gave you a dud in week 16. I know that. And that was kind of disappointing because it was actually a pretty decent spot for him to start in. It's just that when there are too many angles for that offense to exploit, when the Packers can run at will and can pass at will, and when Devontae Adams decides that he's just going to go full God mode, there's just not much room for the tight end to really do more than just seal the edge a little bit so that AJ Dillon can destroy a cornerback's existence.
Mr. Cavs, AJ Dillon.
Quads. Quad City, dude. That guy is. His quads are as big as my torso. I'm pretty sure. Like he's a pretty big guy there. 6 foot, runs a 4.53, and he weighed 240 coming in. I think 240 plus coming in. I think that he's looking for that bounce back week, and I think that there's not a lot of other angles for this defense to be exploited, and as a result, the way to get the offense moving is going to be through the tight end in the passing game, and I think that that's the angle they're going to play. They've done it before. Why not do it again? Who do you have at QB?
At QB, I have a guy that we've never really been a big fan, and it's just more personal, probably, mainly. It's hashtag Twami. It's Tom Brady going against the Atlanta Falcons, and dude, Brady just went nuts last week. So he put up 348 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Nuts in a good way, you mean? Not like senility from being old?
Not yet. I mean, he hasn't been hit in the head too much, but he put up all those numbers in the first half. They didn't even play him in the second half. They were like, you know what? You've had a good day. Why don't you go ahead and sit down and take some immunity pills and take a break? But it's actually one of those things when since their week 13 bye, the Bucs week 13 bye, Brady's been playing really well. They want to maintain right now their seeding in the playoffs, so they're not going to be resting anybody. Atlanta is giving up the most fantasy points to the QB position. So, I mean, stop me if you've heard of that, Kyle, where Atlanta gives up the most to a certain position when it comes to fantasy points. So, week 15 is whenever the Bucs played the Falcons. I just mentioned that on the Calvin Ridley start, but he was 31, 45, 390 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I'm just saying, man, Tom Brady has been the Falcons' daddy ever since Super Bowl 51. You know what I mean?
28-3.
And it's just like, I don't think they've ever fully recovered. So anytime he plays against them, he's just like, I just want to just stick the knife in just a little bit more.
Yeah. But all right, let's move on to streamers here. We've got QB up first. You want to take QB here?
Yeah, sure. I'll take him, especially seeing as though it's on my team. I'm going to go Phillip Rivers going against the Jacksonville Jags, 41% rostered. The Jags are giving up the 3rd most points to opposing quarterback. And here's the thing. They're doing the opposite of New York Jets. The Jags know what they're doing when it comes to losing right now.
Yeah, they're really good
trying. They're tanking for Trev. See, I said it right this time for you. they're doing everything they can. They're starting the neck Mike Glennon for Gardner Minshew.
Mhm.
James Robinson, I think, probably could play, but they're going ahead and declared him out already. And this is week 1 was the last time the Jags won, and that was against these Colts. So it's a bit of a revenge game. First game with Rivers, so it's tough to kind of determine how he was going to do throughout the rest of the season. But he still put up 363 yards, a
They also
touchdown,
had
and 2
they
picks.
didn't have a preseason, so they hadn't had any opportunity to sort of
None.
gel on the field, and so like that was a preseason game essentially.
It's also one of those things where this is a streamer, everybody. He's been roughly a back end wide receiver 1, higher end, wide
QB.
receiver. Yeah, a back end QB 1 and higher end QB 2 these last few weeks. The Colts have a lot on the line right now when it comes to getting in the playoffs. If for some reason this is a dud and they lose, this might be the end of Phillip Rivers in the NFL.
It could
So
be.
I'm thinking he's going to play his heart out and he's going to do everything he can to
Yeah.
help them win, and that could be based off his shoulder.
Yeah. I mean, they really blew that game last week down the stretch in that. They just couldn't
I put
get
that on the
anything going
coaching
in-
staff on that one, man.
Absolutely.
I really don't understand why they went away from the rushing attack. It was working. It wasn't stellar in the first half, but it was working.
Yeah.
And that was a way to eat clock, and they just decided not to do that and allow Ben Roethlisberger and those weapons to get back in the game. Yep. Who do you got as your tight end streamer?
All right, streaming. I've got Irv Smith Jr. versus Detroit. He's 15% rostered currently. He's finished as the number 3 tight end 2 of the last 3 games. He's made our waiver wire episode this week, and so he's a good pickup, I think. Detroit is about in the middle of the pack as it goes to fantasy points allowed to the tight end position, but they've kind of clearly given up. They're just done. The shellacking that the Bucks put on them just demonstrates that this team, there's just no coming back right now. They're in full rebuild mode. I would imagine that what's his name, Matt Stafford, is probably gone after this.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. One of the biggest reasons that he's a really good streaming tight end is the fact that Kyle Rudolph has already been ruled out for week 17. So that leaves nothing but Irv Smith Jr. And then I want to toss in also that Dalvin Cook is already out. He's out. I think his father passed away.
Yeah.
And then also Madison's been ruled out, I believe, as well. So
he hasn't been rolled out just yet, but he's really on the brink.
I thought
when
I
it
saw
comes to
something that
concussion.
said he was.
Oh, maybe right before we started recording. Yeah, you might be right. So it's like, who are Amir Abdullah? So they're going to have to throw it.
Yeah. All they've got left is throwing it. So
yeah,
I imagine that he's going to be heavily involved, and that's worth picking up in tight end. Who do you have at defensive streamer?
As a defensive streamer, I have the Arizona Cardinals going against the LA Rams, 43% rostered. Let me see if you know this name, if he came up on the list of whenever we were going to draft fantasy football, the names of all the rosters and everything. But the Rams are going to start John Wolford at quarterback after Goff was ruled out with thumb surgery he just had this week.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought in Old Faithful back to back up John Wolford, though, and Old Faithful is Blake Bortles. Bortles. Come on down, Bortles. So it's one of those things where, if this John Wolford plays, he's probably going to stink it up a little bit. If they bring in Blake Bortles, well, you could have a pretty good defensive day as well.
Yeah.
Not to mention, hey, Cooper Kupp's been placed on the COVID list.
Yeah.
Sean McVay said he doesn't know if he's going to be available or not. We don't know if he's tested positive or not, or if it's close contact. So, the new starter Wolford's going to be without most likely Kupp. He's going to be out. What's his name?
Henderson, I think, is out. I think it's Henderson.
Cam Akers. Yeah, Henderson. I put in the wrong name in my notes here.
Yeah.
But Arizona has been the third best defense the last 3 weeks, so they've caught on pretty well here towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I think we mentioned Arizona last week as a possible pickup. They didn't put up a stellar number, but they did do a pretty good job, actually.
Yeah.
All right, then we've got our fades of the week. Here we go. At running back, I've got Miles Sanders versus Washington. Washington's allowing the 5th least fantasy points to the running back position, and so that's not great. Sanders is getting in the middle teens touches. That's been pretty common throughout the whole season. but more so lately, he's consistently somewhere between 12 and 15 touches per game. And that's not great. It's going to be really hard to get production going off of that in a derelict offense with the brand new QB, all that stuff. He's only broken 100 yards rushing 2 times this season. And so you have to look at it and say, well, what are we looking at here? We've got Jalen Hurts is coming in. He's going to damage Miles Sanders' value in a way that Taysom Hill did the same thing to Alvin Kamara.
Yep.
So I'm expecting him to produce at about the back end of running back 2, somewhere in high running back 3 territory. And that's probably pretty optimistic, actually. So that's where I'm at. I don't think it's going to be a great day. I'm fading him.
I got you. For wide receiver, I have Tyler Lockett going against the 49ers. And Kyle, I really just don't understand why this guy keeps getting ranked as like a wide receiver 2 out there. Whenever I'm looking over rankings on Fantasy Pros and everything.
I
have no idea either, Kyle. I mean,
I was looking at it. It's gross.
It is. You were just talking about Miles Sanders eclipsing the 100-yard mark. Tyler Lockett's he's topped 100 yards twice all season, and both of those games he has finished as the number 1, not just wide receiver 1, the number 1 wide receiver those weeks.
Yeah.
So if you take out those 2 games, I know I'm cherry picking just a little bit, Kyle, but stay with me here. He is averaging as the 49th wide receiver. You take out all those, and he's not even startable.
No, he's not at all. He's not even flexible.
No,
you can't put him in the flex spot. I was actually looking at these stats in preparing for our matchup breakdowns and doing notes on that. And I was looking at it. I want to say since week 11, he has only had maybe it's 1 game in which he was under, I think, wide receiver 53, where he was better than wide receiver 53. So it's pretty bad.
Yeah. And whenever the Seahawks won against 49ers in week 8, and he had a 5 target, 4 catches and 33 yards, no touchdowns. I'm forecasting a very similar stat line for Lockett, and just kind of like what you were saying. So since week 11, he has not hit double digits. In fantasy points
and don't just assume that it's like, oh, he'll get cooking here and he'll be fine. DK Metcalf's having the same problem, guys. It's the exact same problem. Since week 12, he only has 2 weeks where he was startable. And that's it. These guys are off of the radar as far as I'm concerned. And it's the demise of Russell Wilson that has done these 2 in.
It's the demise of Pete Carroll and trying to be too damn cute and keep running the dang ball and just
I have to imagine that he's probably on a hot seat that people don't really see.
Yeah,
I do. I mean, I get it. They're going to make the playoffs. They're highly ranked. I have to believe that John Schneider is looking at it saying, if I don't clear this problem up, I'm going down with him next year. And so I think this might be the last hurrah. The dude's the oldest coach in the league. He's been the oldest coach in the league for a very long time.
Russell Wilson's been covering up a lot of things for this team, and it's starting to get just slightly exposed a little bit here.
I mean, everybody talks about let Russ cook, right?
Yeah.
The problem is that they decide that they want to just run, and then
he doesn't have enough ingredients to cook.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have any effective tight ends going at this point because the run game has been mediocre at best. The offensive line is not gelling anymore the way that it was before, and so it's just not a good situation. Yeah. All right, at tight end, I'm cheating here a little bit. I'm going to go with 2 guys, but it's from one team. It's Jimmy Graham and Cole Kmet. They're going against Green Bay, and I couldn't decide between the 2 of them because you never know which one's going to really do the job. I think Cole Kmet is on the upswing of getting like more and more targets, but it's still Jimmy Graham's show in Chicago as far as tight end goes. And so, Jimmy, the market setter Graham, is still a guy who they use. Green Bay allows the 6th least fantasy points to the tight end this year. I see no reason for that to change. Jimmy Graham is really old and Cole Kmet's really young, and neither of them is going to be very effective at beating that defense. The issue for the Green Bay defense this year has been against the run, which you obviously know, right? Everybody knows that you can run on the Green Bay defense, although maybe a little bit less. They did just pick up Snacks Harrison off of the waiver wire.
No.
I don't know if he's going to actually play or not for them.
I don't know.
Sure. He apparently was their second choice, they were his second choice when he signed with Seattle, and then Seattle kind of put him behind somebody, and now that person's coming back from being injured or something, and they're basically he's going to
healthy
get
scratching.
Yeah, they were planning on doing like active scratches or whatever, something like that, healthy scratches, and he's just going to be. So he was like, I need out of here, and so there's a possibility that he plays. I don't know. It could shore up the run defense a little bit.
Yeah,
that's neither here nor there with regard to these two guys. They've consistently shut down the tight end this whole season. The secondary is good, that we do know. You've got Adrian Amos, Darnell Savage, Jair Alexander. I want to say Raymond Green is coming back. Kevin King is a health concern constantly, and he's like a stick. Anyway, he's like the dude is just tall and thin and can't cover anybody. I want to say that his completion percentage over his head's like 70%. So it's bad.
You mentioned Savage and Amos, man. PFF ranked them as the two best safeties last week.
Yeah,
not just on the team. No, I'm just in the entire NFL. They were the two.
Savage
best.
is coming on, and it's his second year, I want to say,
out of Maryland, I believe.
Yeah, the dude is a ball hawk. He's getting. I think he almost ended both of the last two games on interceptions. So he's been doing pretty well. So that is a concern when you're running a tight end out there against these guys. The Bears are going to want to run the ball against Green Bay, obviously, right? The exploitation of this defense is through the running game. And David Montgomery has been very effective lately, as we mentioned in our fantasy awards show. Yep. They want to keep Aaron Rodgers off the field. All of these things kind of culminate into bad day for the tight end, right?
Yep.
And it's really probably has a lot to do with the way that every offense thinks that it should attack this defense. And that is that you need to run as much as possible, keep Aaron Rodgers off the field as much as possible. So run the clock down, use the running back, and keep Aaron Rodgers on the sideline. I think that's where that's at. So, yeah. What do you have at QB on fades?
My fade of the week is Kyler Murray going against the LA Rams. And not only is this...
Is he playing? Is he going to actually play?
It's from what it sounds like, yes.
He says he can play. I know that he's saying...
He's been cleared as well. So, Murray, what we're talking about is Kyler Murray hurt his leg at the very end, like the last play against the Niners last week. Yeah. He's been cleared to practice, but... I mean, he's going to be hampered, and this is, once again, a tough matchup going against the LA Rams. They're giving up the least amount of points to opposing quarterbacks, and Kyler Murray relies on his legs to be fantasy dominant, and he's not going to be 100%. And I just look back, even when he was 100%, in Week 13, they went against the Rams. He had 173 passing yards, only 15 rushing yards. He did have 3 touchdowns and a pick to kind of help him, but he was still finished as just a middle-of-the-road quarterback too. Yeah. So I'm expecting a very similar performance in this matchup for a guy that's, he's not going to be 100%, and that was not a good look, and that hit was bad for him.
Yeah.
And you have guy like, Aaron Donald coming up the middle, coming to attack you, and he's a big SOB going against that guy. He can track him down too if he's not fully healthy. So
and they also have Ndamukong Suh, I think, too, right? So like I want to say that they do, don't they? Is he still out there?
Are they still there?
I think he is. But Aaron Donald changes the entirety of that defense. When he's out there and healthy and ready to go, everything works better on that defense. And then you add in Jalen Ramsey, and it's just good night.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a dominant defense right now. So
you'll see whenever we do our with the matchups and everything in this game, there's probably not going to be too many starts on the Cardinals side when it comes to, I mean, there's going to be a couple starts, but there's going to be a lot of fades on who you're going to start.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's going to do it for our final starts, fades, and our start streamers and fades of the season. Hopefully that helps you get through your Week 17 championship. Again, if you've got one of those types of leagues, get out of that league. You don't want to play in the last week of the season. There's too many guys missing, and for lots of reasons, not just because they've got some playoff bye or anything like that. So make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as the bell. That way you can hang out with us during the off season. We'll talk about a lot of different things, including strategy, how we get through a season, how we're doing our draft and that sort of stuff, as well as getting the early price on our draft kit for this coming season. You'll be able to find out when that's coming and when you'll be able to get that early, cheaper price. All right, guys, it's going to do it for us. I will make sure to throw on the screen our last 2 episodes, the Fantasy Football Awards, as well as our waiver wire episode for week 17. Thanks for being fans of the upside. Bye.
See ya.